Today, we are diving into Peter Thiel's incredible book, 0 to 1. And look, this is not just another business book. It's really a blueprint for building the future, for creating something totally new, for going from nothing to something, from 0 to 1. And this quote? This is pretty much the heart of the whole idea. Thiel's big argument is that the number one killer of businesses isn't a bad product or running out of cash, it's competition. He sees it as this brutal race to the bottom, where in the end, nobody really wins. So the big question is, how do you escape it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
So you might be asking, why should we listen to this guy? Well, for starters, Peter Thiel co-founded and was the CEO of PayPal. And back in 2002, he sold it to eBay for a cool $1.5 billion. Now that alone is pretty wild, but believe me, the story gets way more interesting from there.
See, Thiel's success wasn't just a one-time thing. The team he put together at PayPal, the people he personally hired and taught his philosophy to, they went on to create Yelp, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I mean, think about that. Each one of those companies was built on his principles, proving that his formula for creating something new wasn't just luck, it was repeatable.
Okay, so in this explainer, we are going to unpack that exact formula. We're going to focus on 3 big ideas, 3 mindsets from 0 to 1 that kind of flip conventional wisdom on its head. We've got finding a contrarian truth, dominating a niche market, and then aiming for a monopoly.
All right, first up is the absolute foundation of Thiel's entire philosophy, and that is betting on a contrarian truth. What does that mean? It means you build your entire company around an idea that, well, most people think is just plain wrong.
Thiel throws out this challenge to anyone who wants to build something new. He asks this question right here. You see, it's not about having a slightly better version of what already exists. It's about seeing a fundamental truth about where the world is heading that basically nobody else sees yet. So what does that actually look like?
I mean, think about it. Before Uber, if you told someone your big business idea was to get people to just hop into the personal cars of total strangers, you would have been laughed out of the room, right? It went against everything we were ever taught. But Uber bet on that contrarian truth, and well, you know how that turned out.
It's the exact same story with Airbnb. The whole idea of sleeping in a stranger's spare bedroom instead of a hotel, it seemed completely absurd. But Airbnb had a contrarian belief. They bet that people would value unique experiences more than the old idea of hotel security. And they were right. Or take Netflix. Remember when TV was something you had to wait for every week at a specific time? Netflix bet on the contrarian truth that what we really wanted was to watch an entire season in one sitting. It was a behavior we didn't even know we had until they made it possible. So here's the key takeaway. When you build your business on a contrarian truth, you get to completely sidestep the competition. Why? Because, let's be honest, most people are just going to think you're crazy. They'll ignore you, and that gives you the time and the space you need to build a massive head start that becomes almost impossible for anyone else to catch up to. Okay, so you found your contrarian truth. What's next? Well, the next step isn't to try and take over the world. No, it's actually to think as small as you possibly can. You know, the old business school advice is to find some massive billion-dollar market and tell investors you're going to capture just 1% of it. Thiel says that is a total recipe for failure. Instead, he says you should find a tiny, maybe million-dollar market and own 80% of it. Become the only real choice for a very small, very specific group of people.
And the perfect example of this is Amazon. Now, Jeff Bezos always had the vision for the everything store. But he didn't start there. He started by absolutely relentlessly dominating one single niche, selling books online. This let him build up cash flow without any real competition. Then he used that money to expand into the next logical market, CDs and DVDs, and then from there to everything else.
And this brings us to the third and, probably the most controversial idea in the whole book. If you escape competition by finding a contrarian truth, and you start by dominating a niche, what is the end goal? According to Peter Thiel, the goal is to build a monopoly.
Now, hold on. I know what you're thinking. The word monopoly probably makes you picture some Grady cartoon villain, right? Crushing all the little guys. But Thiel asks us to just reconsider that idea for a minute.
Here's his argument. He says that when you're in a super competitive market, all your energy goes into just surviving day to day. Your profits get squeezed down to basically zero. But a monopoly is so profitable that it can actually afford to think long term. It can invest in crazy research projects, it can pay its people really well, and it can fund these moonshot ideas that can end up helping everybody, like Google using its search profits to develop self-driving cars.
So Thiel lays out 4 main ways to build one of these durable monopolies. You can have a brand that's so strong it basically defines the category, right? Think Apple. You could have proprietary technology that is literally 10 times better than anything else out there, like Google's search algorithm. You could have network effects, where the service gets better for everyone as more people join. That's Facebook's playbook. Or you can have economies of scale, where you're just so big you can do things cheaper than anyone else. And that's Amazon.
So, how do we pull all of this together? How do we combine these 3 really powerful mindsets into one single strategy? Well, it turns out it's a pretty clear step-by-step path from 0 to 1. So it all comes together in this simple 3-step framework. First, you have to find an important truth about the future that almost nobody else agrees with you on. Second, you take that insight and you use it to completely own a small, very specific niche market. And third, you use the power and the profits from that first little market to expand step by step, with the ultimate goal of building a lasting monopoly.
And that really brings us to the final question, which I think is more of a challenge to you. Thiel's ideas aren't just for tech billionaires in Silicon Valley, they are a whole new way of thinking. So as you look at the world around you, what important truth do you see that maybe others don't? What's your unique insight that could be the foundation for creating something totally new? That's the one you build on.